Hey everybody, welcome to day 20 of my mental health journey. For those who aren't familiar with my channel, basically I document my day-to-day struggles with mental health, mainly anxiety, just with the hope of connecting with people who might be going through something similar, as well as using this platform to provide folks for whom I can't speak the opportunity to share their stories and connect with more people who are kind of going through what they're going through. So today I'll keep it brief. I don't have too much to talk about, but I just kind of wanted to speak on the ways that mental illness isn't like a one size fits all type thing. And I've kind of realized that over the course of, say, the past like year and a half, mainly because I'd be speaking with people and they would say that like they have anxiety and I too have anxiety, but the ways that their anxiety would like manifest itself versus the way mine would were completely different. So essentially we had the same blanket term for our mental illness, but the way that it kind of came about was way different. For example, they would be like more worried about like the future and stuff like that, whereas like I'm pretty confident in my abilities to like get a job that I love and to continue to improve every day. But a lot of things that would make me anxious were more social interactions with people, thinking that maybe they didn't like me, or they were talking about me, or stupid stuff. But just, it was like I had a lot more social anxiety, whereas some of the other people that I've spoken with have anxiety about like the future, about just completely different stuff. And it made me realize that just because like somebody says they're depressed or they're anxious or they have bipolar disorder, like the way that they experience it is totally different than the way you experience it, even if you have the same clinical diagnosis or whatever you want to call it. And I assume that that's why people have different methods for coping with their stress and whatnot, because there's no one size fits all type thing. So for me, I usually lean on eating healthy, exercising, hanging out with friends, reading, Spanish, music. Like I have a bunch of different things that I use to kind of cope with my anxiety, but somebody else might cope with their anxiety through watching Netflix. It might like just allow them to unwind and relax. So I used to kind of think like, wow, like, you're doing this and that to deal with your stress. Like if I were in your situation, like that wouldn't help me at all. But I had to take a step back from like that analysis and realize that, well, they aren't me. So, all that stuff I just said is invalid anyway. But it just kind of has blown my mind the way that these things can appear to other people. Somebody could look completely relaxed. I feel like I look externally pretty relaxed for the most part, but a lot of times like in my head there's like a war going on. It could be about me just hating on myself. It could be me making assumptions about somebody's intentions, or just assuming that they might be two-faced or something. I'm a pretty cynical person, and I don't think that my anxiety helps with that, because my cynicism creates these scenarios in my head and then my anxiety just kind of runs wild with it. And I'm sure there's plenty of people with anxiety who don't have any of that going on. It could be something completely different. So when I say like I have anxiety as a blanket term and I want to connect with people, I'm not saying that just because I have anxiety and you have anxiety, we've gone through all the same stuff. But it's just, I want to have like an understanding that even though your anxiety or your depression or whatever doesn't manifest itself the same way mine does, that doesn't make it any less valid. That doesn't make it any less like something that you could analyze and like realize that it's affecting your life very poorly. It just might be affecting it in a different way. So I'm really going to try to like explain more about like my anxiety when things come up, just to share with you guys kind of how my anxiety comes about. But if you guys also have anxiety and you're thinking like, what the hell, I don't have any of these symptoms, I don't think the way that he does, and whatnot, that's completely fair, because it doesn't have to be like me. Everybody has a subjective experience when it comes to this stuff, and mental health is extremely complicated. So there's a whole lot of factors behind it, like the past, biochemical stuff going on in your brain. It's all your experiences in general. So if I haven't lived your life, I therefore can't totally understand your anxiety, and you couldn't totally understand mine. But I'm just going to do my best to explain my thoughts and share why I feel certain ways and why I've worked so hard to change some of these negative thought processes, because they really have taken a toll like on my life. It's kind of slowed me down a lot. But now that I'm expressing myself more and I have more of like a sense of clarity, I'm able to talk about it and internalize it. Whereas before I didn't even want to deal with it. I didn't want to admit that I had a problem. I didn't want to face my demons and everything. But I think once I started to do that, that was really when I started turning a new leaf, so to speak. Like and I've said it before, I feel a lot better about myself, but I just understand myself more because I was willing to finally just face my fears and stuff, which I hadn't allowed myself to do for my entire life, basically. So if you're somebody that's in my situation who has kind of just been fed up with dealing with like their mental health stuff, but they want to attack it in a positive way and not, go the route of maybe partying too hard or just other unhealthy stuff, like I would highly recommend that you get professional help if you think that you need it. And if not, just to speak with your family and friends about it, because anxiety and all that stuff, unless like you really exhibit like external symptoms, like you're jittery and everything, like a lot of people might not ever know. A lot of people probably didn't know that I had a really bad like sense of anxiety pretty much all the time. But it just kind of takes speaking up and confronting your problems to really kind of overcome them, I guess. And it's not like you just overcome it one day and then it's over. Like dealing with mental health is like a grappling process that's going to take your entire life, and there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, but in order to really confront it and make the best out of those bad days and the best out of those good days, you have to understand why you're anxious or depressed and really get a sense of how I'm planning on attacking this mental illness, because it's a mental illness and it's a disease. It's something that, it's not like you can't not treat it and ignore it and it's going to go away just because it's not physical. So highly recommend that you guys try and analyze some of the reasons why you might be feeling certain ways, whether it's anxiety or depression or any mental illness for that matter, because they all have different mechanisms behind them. But I think once you start really confronting your problems and understanding that your problems are like your own and people want to talk about them, but you have to understand that like the way that you experience mental illness is way different. Until you're able to like understand that and understand what kind of makes you tick, you're just going to keep having problems. And I'm saying that from experience. So I really recommend that you take the time to think about this stuff and not just let it compound and get worse and worse over time, because it's not going to get any better if you don't step up to the plate and try and tackle it. But anyway, love you guys. I'll post this tonight. I'm not going to be doing too much promotion of my stuff this week, just in solidarity with all the Black folks who are really going through it and out there protesting and whatnot, and all the non-Black people as well. But this is about Black people right now and the fact that Black lives matter and all that good stuff. So love you guys. I'll post this tonight. I'll post tomorrow. I'm posting every day. So like I said, this train's not stopping anytime soon. But love you guys, and I hope you have a great day.